This is the fourth of 5 short videos reviewing basic geometry. In this video, our focus will be on finding volume. So volume is a measure of the space inside a three-dimensional or solid shape, such as the ones on the screen here. Units for measuring volume will always be cubic units. So for example, we could use cubic inches, cubic feet, or cubic meters. Below are the formulas for finding volume of common shapes. So, for the volume of a rectangular solid or a box, the formula is V equals L times W times H. This means we're multiplying the length times the width times the height to get back the volume. The volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. So in this formula, pi is the irrational number we saw in some previous videos that we can approximate by 3.14. R is for radius, which means the radius of the circular base or top of the cylinder, and that's a measure from the center to the outside. And then H is for height. For the volume of a cone, the formula is volume equals 1/3 pi, again, which we can approximate by 3.14, times r squared h. R is again being used to indicate the radius of the base of our cone, which is a circle. And then h is for height, the height of the cone. And one thing that might help you as you look at these formulas is there's a definite relationship between the volume of a cylinder and the volume of a cone. So you'll notice that the volume of a cone is 1/3 that of the volume for a cylinder. So anyways, just might help you out a little bit there. So let's try finding a few volumes for different shapes. Our first example asks us to find the volume of a box with a length of 2 feet, a width of 3 feet, and a height of 5 feet. So I have a box on the side that I'll go ahead and label just in case the visual helps. But again, the formula in general for finding the volume of a rectangular solid or a box is length times width times height. So I'm going to go ahead and label the length as 2 feet and the width as 3 feet. I'll just take that to be like the depth of our box here. And then the height is 5 feet. So now as we plug in our values for length, width, and height into the volume formula, we will be taking 2 feet times 3 feet times 5 feet. So if I multiply my numbers there, 2 times 3 times 5, that gives us 30. Feet times feet times feet is where that cubic unit of feet cubed comes from. So again, the volume measurement will always be a cubic measurement. So that's why I included the units here. It's not required, but this just reminds me that feet times feet times feet, again, give us cubic feet. So there is the volume of our box. Now let's look at the volume of a cylinder. For our cylinder here, we're going to be using a radius of 2 feet and a height of 6 feet. Remember the formula for the volume of a cylinder in general is volume equals pi r squared h. So if I label the little cylinder on the left there, I'll be using 2 feet for the radius, and for the height we can use 6 feet. So if we plug in these values into our formula for volume in general, remembering that pi can be approximated by 3.14, and the radius of 2 feet is squared, and the height is 6 feet. Again, just cleaning up my numbers, 3.14 times 2 squared times 6 is going to be 75.36. So our volume will be about 75.36 feet cubed. So I'm just going to break this part down a little bit more in case squaring was a little tricky. So when I have 2 feet squared, that really means I'm taking 2 feet times 2 feet. So 2 feet times 2 feet would give us 4 square feet, right? and then that 4 was multiplied by the 6 and the 3.14. That's where 75.36 came from. The square feet were times by the feet from the height, and that's where cubic feet came from. So that is finding the volume of the cylinder. And last but not least, let's try finding the volume of the cone. So forgive my poor sketch on the left here, but we're trying to find the volume of a cone where the radius is 6 feet and the height is 5 feet. In general, the formula for the volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. And as I label our diagram on the left, I'm going to use 3 feet for the radius and 5 feet for the height. So volume will be equal to 1/3 times 3.14, and then I'm going to be using 3 for the radius. What I'll do in this example, just to keep it a little less messy, is I'm going to drop off my units of feet, but remember at the end I'll need cubic feet, okay? So there are all my numbers. So if I multiply 3.14 times 3 squared times 5, that really means 3.14 times 9 times 5, I'm going to get back 141.3. So I just went ahead and worked with this part first, cleaned all those numbers up. And then the formula says I take 1/3 of that. So I'm just going to take 141.3 and divide it by 3. And you can use a calculator if it helps for this one. That should give us 47.1. Now I left off the units as I worked through the cleanup process, but don't forget to include them on your answer. So anytime we're finding volume, it's units cubed, and in this example my units were feet. So the volume of the cone would be 47.1 cubic feet. Hopefully this helps. There is one more video about some triangles, so check it out.